So, welcome to the Cutty Sark. I've got a ticket, I'm going to go in, let's go and explore. Today's video is sponsored by Heart of the Tribe Gallery, where art meets community. More about that later. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're in, and here we are by the bit that does the steering, the rudder. And the whole boat under the waterline is sheathed in copper. Well, it's a mixture of copper and zinc. The idea is it stops barnacles sticking. Wow, look at this. You can almost touch, it's so close. In fact, I'm going to, look. Look, ladies and gentlemen, the Cutty Sark. Wow. So, at the moment, they've cut a dirty great big hole in it so we can get in, which is fantastic. So, where are we? Okay, so the dry dock is down there. Look, there's the dry dock. Underneath, you can walk underneath the boat. I can't wait to go down there. Then we've got the lower hold, which is where we are. And then you've got a tween deck and a main deck, which is up on top. So we'll go in here first to the lower hold. As we look down here, we can see the ribs that make up the ship are exposed. And there's more there stacked up. So this is how the freight would have been carried. And of course, above us, you can see hatchways where it had been lowered down from the top deck and then stacked away by the, I guess what they would, and there's more there stacked up. So this is how the freight would have been carried. And of course, above us, you can see hatchways where it had been lowered down from the top deck and then stacked away by the, I guess what they would, I don't know what it would mean, the sailors. Here you can see the anchor chain in its chain locker, ready to be deployed. So now we're going to take the steps up. So for those of you who aren't nautical, there's 4 things you need to learn: the bow, the stern, port and starboard. Okay, so the bow is the pointy bit. It's the bit that goes up front, and the stern is the bit at the back where the rudder is, where they do the steering. And then you've got port and starboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm standing at the bow, so I'm standing at the pointy end. So behind me is the stern. To my left, I think we're going to be your right, is port. And to my right, which is your left, is going to be starboard. Now, there's a quick reason why port and starboard came about. In the olden days, before rudders were put in the middle of the boat at the rear, they were on one side. And the side of the boat they were on, if you were looking from the back of the boat to the front, so as you looked at the boat, the udder was on the right, over there. So what they did is they docked on the left so that they didn't crunch the rudder between the ship and the dock. And that is why we have port and starboard. So I'm walking back to the stern of the boat now. This is another area, but this one's more open, and it gives you an idea of the height of the floors. These were quite modern ships. I mean, there's lots of room in here. It's not like going on the Victory or one of those ships where everything's crunched in and tiny. Every inch of this was made to store tea. And the idea was these ships, they were fast, they were lean, they were stuffed full of tea, and they could get back from the tea producing areas of China quickly. And here we are, look, another sort of freight. Sheep wool, they carried sheep wool. Over 5,000 bales like that could be carried on this ship. Here's an interesting thing. A merino produces 5.5 kilograms of wool a year, which will make 5,000 miles of fibre. Imagine that. It's very interesting. But I know where you all want to go. You all want to go up on deck, don't you? So that's where I'm heading now, up on deck. Here's a model showing her in full sail. Look at all that canvas she would unfurl. No wonder they were quick. And here is some of the ropes used to control the sails when they were aloft. Various winches. As we walk along the deck, of the Cutty Sark here. I would like to remind you that back in 2007, this ship went up in flames. And the nation mourned. We thought we'd lost her. However, as you can see, look, it's as if the fire never happened. A lot of very dedicated, very skillful people came together and restored this boat and improved it, because you've now got the glass atrium and you can get down below and go underneath this ship, which we'll go down and look at in a minute. But I think it's absolutely fabulous. I am going to show you the rigging in a minute, but the sun's up there, so I'm going to turn around and point the other way in a minute when we get a better view from the stern here. So this would be probably where they steered it from and all that important stuff. Let's go and have a look. Yes, here we are, look. We're coming up to the office. This is where somebody would have been stood. There would have been a sailor stood here, steering the ship. Not that he could see much. I mean, the view forwards isn't brilliant. Here we come to what will be the compass. Not really very obvious, but there is a compass in there. Nicely polished, I have to say. And then the steering gear in this box. As you can see, I hope you can see, as the wheel is turned, it turns a worm drive, which moves this shaft here backwards and forwards, which means this moves like that, and attached to a pin under that is the rudder. And if we follow this down, we can see the shaft connected to the rudder below us, running down there. As we can see, proudly made up there in Scotland. And here we are, showing how you lock the wheel off. You have one rope on one side, one rope on the other side. That wheel isn't moving. So this is where the steering wheel is. Let's go and see where the boss lived. This is the master's cabin. There's his sexton and his cot and a table where he did everything. And of course, obviously, he's nice and handy should the bloke doing the steering want to have a chat with him. Down here is the officer's mess with the table, and notice these which swing when you're rocking, so you put things with liquid in them like your drink. And food would have been, there probably would have been a large silver thing on here with a dead animal on it, which would have been cut up by a butler. And his window. That, I think you call a porthole, don't you? And they got a fire, look, real fire. And they got a fire, look. And they got a fire. And we go through here. So this is the first mate's cabin. He was second head honcho after the captain. The captain was incapacitated or otherwise busy or asleep. Often it was the first mate that took over. Over here is the second mate's cabin. Second mate would have been there to support the first mate. Eventually would have become a first mate in his own right, I suspect. And over here is the steward. The poor dog's body. Obviously he had to keep all the signals and keep track of the time, as well as look after the posh crew back in there. The other side is the pantry. Now this is where the chap in charge of looking after the guys in the room there would have cooked. Let's head on up. Use the buckets here for use for cleaning the decks, which was always done regularly, and climbing all the way to the top. Sometimes in rough seas, and imagine, and climbing all the way to the top. And climbing all the way to the top. Sometimes in rough seas, and imagine this rocking on the ocean and you've got to climb up there. It bears thinking about, doesn't it? Above us here we can see some of the furled sails in their stored positions, and we look up again at the mast. So here we are, the bilge pump. So some poor matlow would have been stationed, one on each side, and their job would have been to keep that thing moving, getting rid of any water out of the bilges that they didn't want. Haha, a life on the ocean wave, they say. Look at that mast. Now, sailors amongst you will probably know what these knots are called and what all these different bits and pieces are. I haven't got a clue. I don't know what they do. I know these are used for the ropes, which are stashed in a certain way. Each mope has a name. I wish I knew what the names were. But it goes up aloft and performs its task, either raising, lowering, or letting sail in or out, or tightening the sail, loosening the sail. They all do different jobs. They've all got a name. And some bloke back there would have been shouting at these sailors, and they would have come here and they'd have operated the ropes. A lot of them without even thinking, because they knew what they were doing. It was like a muscle memory. And here we have another winch. And again, always ropes, when not in use, were tied up and stowed. You couldn't have ropes flopping around the place. Not on an active ship like this. I don't know if you can see in there, but that's the galley. And the galley was next door to the carpenter's workshop. And here we are at the pointy end, otherwise known as the bow. Now, if you want to do your Titanic impressions, this is where you would come and stand. I never saw the film Titanic, so I can't really come and do the impressions, but I know they did a scene at the pointy end of the Titanic, didn't they? And if you look down there, you can see the glass covering the dry dock. And we're going to go down there in a minute. And over there is where I caught the boat from last week. God, it's getting blowy up here. This here is a capstan, used to coil rope and wind things up and down. You put a stick in these holes and then men would walk round it, turning it, pulling up the rope or the chain or whatever's attached to it. You realise, ladies and gentlemen, if Glastonbury Festival happened 150 years ago, the portable toilets would have looked like this. Because I know it says something, because they're messaging flags. England expects and all that sort of thing. I don't know what they say, but if anyone could tell. Because I know it says something, because they're messaging flags. Because I know it says something, because they're messaging flags. England expect. So, if we walk around here, past more stacked sails, if we walk round here, there's a building we can walk into, which will take us down to the lower level over there. Look, so we're just going to walk across this bridge, leaving the boat, which will give us a lovely view from over here along her length. That there is the stern. As we pan forward, we are looking towards the bow. And down there is the dry dock area where we're going to head to next.
Doors opening.
So we are now going to enter, as it says on the wall over there, the dry dock. And as we come out under the boat, there she is, greeting us. And there's coffee as well. It just doesn't get much better, does it? There we go. As you can see, we are now looking under the boat. I'm actually now going to walk under her keel. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are walking under the keel of the Cutty Sark. What an absolutely amazing, amazing thing to be able to do. The construction of this, it's like a natural theatre, look. In fact, at the far end, things are happening by the ship's heads, whatever they're called. This is called the Sammy Gallery. It's amazing. As we come to here, you can see We're now at the sharp end. And here we are at the very sharp end of the boat. That is the very front of the Cutty Sark, rising above us. So as we look along the boat, from the bow, along the keel, if I walk over there to the stern, there'll be a coffee. So that's what I'm going to do. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, I've now left the Cutty Sark. It's behind me. My next task is to go that way behind the camera, because I'm going to head up to the Royal Observatory, because when I went in there earlier on, a superbly nice lady on the door, when I said I was going up to look at the Meridian line, gave me a complimentary ticket to the Royal Observatory. So we're not only going to go and see that, we're going to go and see the Royal Observatory as well. Fantastic, let's go. The Heart of the Tribe Gallery is a community art gallery situated near the top of Glastonbury High Street. They host amazing exhibitions supporting local artists, and they have a beautiful secret garden out the back. So be sure to check them out and support local art.